die down a bit by the time we get to Glacier Lagoon. But the poetic word for it is kauri, which is means like a strong summer wind. We were hoping for kaldi, which is gentle breeze, so maybe we'll get that. But kauri actually is the son of a giant in Norse mythology named Fornbjörn, and so he's his offspring is the wind. And ahead of us, there's a mountain that features in the sagas and another giant that emerges from there. So basically, Iceland has a myth of 4 protectors of the island, and so there's a large eagle or griffin. There's a giant. There's a serpent, and there's a bull. These protect the 4 quarters of Iceland, and you see them on the emblem of the government. And the giant, so basically they were imagined to protect Iceland because of a Danish king in the 10th century, Harald Bluetooth, who sent a whale to spy on Iceland to see if there was some way to penetrate the country and gain control. And he was chased off by these 4 protectors. And the giant also features in another saga, so the one I told you about, the House Saga, when the people come to burn Jarl's farm down, burn his house down, they stop to rest under this mountain that's ahead of us on our right now, this dark mountain. And in a dream, the giant emerges from that mountain and warns them that they will all be killed if they partake in this effort to kill Njal. And of course, you can imagine what happens in the end. But yeah, so that's the mountain called Lagoon, and it's the mountain from which the giant emerges in the Njal saga. So if you do read the saga, you'll now have an exact visual for that moment in the saga. So another thing that's fascinating in this journey is if you look off to the left, there's that tabletop expanse over there with columns. So those are hard basalt lava columns. They're called columnar basalt, and you see them as a design motif all over Iceland. They're used everywhere. All the new government buildings have them on the sides. The ministry, the Hagrimskirkja, the big church on the hill in Reykjavik, has hexagonal columns. So basically, in a perfect world, they're hexagonal, and that's because nature, when it is relieving stress on materials, naturally chooses 3 lines emanating from a point, which are 320-degree angles. You put those together, they create hexagons. So this is very hard, iron-rich, low in silica material comes racing off the mountain, and as it cools down, it fractures into these columns. And you'll see that also at the Black Sand Beach. I think you see it everywhere. It's part of the way this material, this basalt lava cools. But the hexagon is a pattern that repeats itself throughout nature. It's also the most efficient surface area to interior volume. So you'll see it in the honeycomb pattern that bees create when they store honey. They create hexagons. And at a much smaller scale, you see that the carbon atoms are hexagons when they bond. Snowflakes are hexagons. And at a much larger scale, you see at the top of Jupiter, this cloud that's been spinning for 300 years, the size of our planet. It's a hexagon. I think it's actually turned into an octagon now. But, yeah, it was a hexagon for a while. So, yeah, it's one of those beautiful, mysterious shapes in the universe, and it resonates throughout Iceland. So Iceland has a lot of these mysterious things going on that unite things in our solar system and things around the planet. Straight ahead of us, growing larger by the minute, is Vatnajökull Glacier, just a little to the right. And you can start to make out the glacier in the mountain. That mountain peak ahead of us is in Vatnajökull. That's the highest point in Iceland, about 2,000 meters. And if you can see that, imagine half of that height. That is the depth at which some of this ice is, 1,000 meters deep. So it's quite expansive, incredibly big glacier.